See, I couldn't parry out of that. I mean, that was pretty big. All right, so this is update 23 preview. I'm calling it a preview because, like, I don't know what any of this stuff is, and none of this is probably going to be finalized either. I mean, some of it may be, but some stuff might get nerfed. Some stuff might get reverted, like when we had the balance update. Some of those items that got either a color removed or a color change got reverted before it actually went to live. So we're gonna call it a preview from that standpoint. Of course, if you are in YouTube land and you aren't familiar with how the updates go to PC first as an alpha. So we're gonna have all the items unlocked. We don't know where the stuff drops. And then it gets some bug fixes, some community suggestions, and then it will from there go to beta on PC, then it goes to live on PC, and then it goes to consoles. And don't even ask me about mobile because I have no idea. But that's the basic like rundown of how the updates go. Update 22 is Fatal Falls. That's what they're calling update 22. So 21 was the Malaise update, and then 23 is the new update, which is Whack-A-Mole. So we're gonna read through this one by one, kind of discuss the ideas behind it. Of course, I'm not a dev, nor do I know why the devs decide on certain things or what information they're pulling from the community. So a community suggestion, I don't know what that is. Yo, Whack-A-Mole update, we're assuming we're calling it that because there's just tons and tons of stuff in the actual update itself, and there's no telling what is gonna be what. So the devs just decide, you know what, we're just gonna change anything we can in the time we have, and then people will be happy. Of course, when you're a game dev, might be a struggle to make sure people are happy. First thing in here, new mutation, point blank. Close range attacks deal X% bonus damage. I assume this is tactics. This is point blank range. Point blank is tactics, and close range attacks deal bonus damage. So typically, there's a lot of tactics builds, a lot of tactics playstyles that involve just, you know, standing back and kind of fishing for monsters. And here we have something completely different, where the idea is you get up close and then you start trying to deal some damage. And there are items in the game that take advantage of that, so I actually do really think this is a very good mutation. What I'm wondering is how good this is with throwing items. So close range attacks, I assume, is gonna mean kunai, ice shards, firebrand. I wouldn't be surprised if you could basically go tranquilo and point blank, or you go point blank in throwing builds. If you have like a dual bound build, say electric whip plus ice shards, I wouldn't be surprised if that works in here. And in that case, I feel like that could be kind of strong. But then you have stuff like heavy crossbow, so the shoddy. So I think this is gonna be pretty good. Next, we have a new difficulty curve. We're experimenting with a way to increase the difficulty from 1 BC to the next. So 0 BC, always have a health fountain. BC 1, health fountains on every other transition, with 1 minor flask in between. 2 BC, no more health fountain, but 1 minor flask in every transition. So I think they give you like a couple extra flasks, right? In 2 BC. BC 3, 1 minor flask after the first boss and before the second. This one, I honestly don't even know if that's necessary. I almost feel like the no health flasks is probably fine in BC3, because I don't think a lot of people spend time in 3BC. 4BC, no more health flasks. Enemies teleport to your position. But it looks like there's no melees. So you have basically 3BC as it was like yesterday, except now the monsters teleport. And that's, I think a lot of people were asking for that in the first place. So I actually do like that a lot. And then 5BC, it's the same as 4, except with melees. And I know there's a lot of people out there who kind of don't like the melees, but like in general, like they've never liked melees. But they want 4BC because having the monsters run you down is a completely different kind of game than just running away from everything. So I like that they separate it by the melees. I wouldn't be surprised if I heard people are just playing 4BC, like for casual games, rather than like playing 5 all the time. Moving on. In addition to 5BC, exclusive NPC Collector's Intern. Collector is AFK in 5BC, so they added a new NPC that allows you to deliver your blueprints and unlock them. So I like this. I always hated going back to 4BC. I did it anyway, because that's just how it worked. So luckily, we have an option now. Moving on, we have 3 new weapons. We have the big old axe, the big old club, and the regular size tombstone. The axe apparently has a last hit that can chain. The big club apparently has hold to charge, which I guess maybe like it's katana. And no, honestly, like I do want to see more items like katana. And then a tombstone that I guess isn't fully implemented. It is to some degree, but they're looking for more feedback. So I would like to see that in action. To give you all an idea of what the icons look like. And we're not going to look at the items just yet. Alright, so the icons themselves, it's this right here. So tombstone is survival. Hache du Gardien, survival. And what do you know, another survival weapon. So 3 more survival weapons. We're actually a little, I'm gonna assume survival is the least amount of weapons in the game. So if they want to add more, you know, so be it. A lot of people feel as though brutality is a little saturated. So you know what? I'm okay with that. New mutation, execution colorless, instantly kill enemies under 5% after you hit them with your weapon. Now this is a thinkies, but even the idea that I could be like shooting my quick bow down a hallway, and if the monster gets down to 10%, I don't need to fire that next arrow, and that time that it takes you to fire that arrow, that might actually be a difference. So that's probably good. And then if you think about other stuff like the lightning bolt, fire blast, maybe Hayabusa boots, basically things don't have executes, it just does the same damage all the time. That's probably really good on everything, and if it works on bosses too, that might be pretty good. Like thinking about all those times that Timekeeper or the Scarecrow, especially the Scarecrow, has hit me at the very end of the fight, specifically because I just couldn't like pump out the damage fast enough. Like that has to be kind of sick. So yeah, I'm gonna try this out. I'm also super curious on how this is gonna work with dots. So say for example, kunai, say alchemic carbine, even Hokuto bow. Like if Hokuto is ticking and then just happens to execute the target,
damage. We're dead.
I feel like that's probably really good. Next mutation, we got Barb Tips. Inflict X damage per second to enemies per arrow stuck in them. Now, I think at like initial look at this, I don't think a lot of people would want to use this. In biomes, if you imagine you're using Marksman Bow, Marksman Bow should probably kill the monster in maybe 2 or 3 shots. But on bosses, I feel like other weapons, think about things like Quick Bow, think about Heavy Crossbow, Repeater Crossbow, like the number of weapons that are basically like guns at that point that just load in bullets into the target, and then maybe, just maybe, Sonic Carbine. Raise your hand in chat if you remember what Sonic Carbine is. Sonic Carbine actually does kill stuff in biomes, like believe it or not. But once you take it to a boss, it's actually like borderline worthless. Almost healing the boss at that point. But the idea that you could load in like 25 bullets with Sonic Carbine really quickly, and then maybe Barb Tips does enough damage to almost be like a fake bleed or a fake poison. But if that's enough to make Sonic Carbine actually worth using, then that might be a buff all by itself to Sonic Carbine. So I'm definitely really excited to try that one out. And then another thing that I'm super excited to try is the Omnivorous Diet. I don't know, it's little things like this really excite me. Maybe I'm the only one. Maybe I am the community suggestion. If there's anybody else out there who suggested this or thought this was a good idea, shout outs to you, because me and you were like one and the same right now. We got some balancing. You all love balancing, and so do I. This is my favorite part of the patch notes. Here we have legendary items now scale based off the sum of your 2 highest stats. Legendary weapons were always in a weird spot. They used to be 1 level lower than regular weapons. That's why you typically never see a legendary higher than level 10. And the reason why was that you have a free starter fix. Some starter fixes that don't even show up in regular weapons. So I think that, I personally think legendaries were always strong, but that's why they were technically weaker than their normal counterpart. So now we're left with this, where the legendary itself is supposed to do extra damage based off of your stats compared to a regular weapon. And I feel like, I mean, maybe that's fine. I probably won't tell the difference, to be honest. I know there's a lot of people who sort of min-max dead cells, and maybe they can tell you that, oh, this legendary Hayabusa gauntlet with poison on hit is actually weaker than a normal Hayabusa, but now on the new patch, this thing's giga busted. Maybe they'll say that. The math majors, I'm not. So this is gonna be completely by feeling for me. Tesla coil blueprint drop rate increase. Now we have probably less times you have to go to distillery, which is probably one of the hardest maps in the game. So that's a buff to the player. Please don't make me go to distillery. Items obtained by the collector when completing a blueprint are now colorless. So that means if you unlock a new blueprint, you get to try it out immediately. So that's actually really nice. Malaise now no longer increases the movement speed of enemies. So this is a nerf to the monsters, which I'm a little surprised about. In all honesty, the only thing that I had an issue with for Malaise movement speed were tentacles. The tentacles, especially in the Conjunctivius fight, even Conjunct itself, you take a lot of malaise just going to that boss, because it's one of the longest routes in the game. The malaise buff the tentacles and cause them to like jet across the screen at maximum speed. And I thought it was hilarious, but I can assume that some people, you know, don't agree with that. And I'm only one person, so if they want to nerf stuff, I'm okay to be the outlier. Because it's all about, you know, the greater good. You can sacrifice me for the greater good. That's fine. Next one, sudden death prevention and vulnerability duration increase. What that is when you get
look at that damage.
hit,
we're dead.
At maximum health, or any number that's above 25%, if you take more health than your remaining health, you go down to 1 HP, like that magic pixel. That's the death prevention mechanic. What they did was they just increased the amount of time that you have to recover from that by 0.1 seconds. I'm gonna assume that there's some monster out there with enough attack speed that it happens to attack again in 0.5 seconds and you automatically die. Next, all weapons now have a bit of air control if an enemy is in the strike zone. This one, so giving all weapons air stall, flotation, even like to some degree, that's kinda strong, I feel. There's a lot of weapons that are in the game that I feel like are specifically balanced around not having air stall. Especially a lot of the like big weapons. So imagine something like broadsword. Broadsword, it's really hard to land that horizontal in midair. But against the giant, now you can. You can like jump attack, jump vertical again. That seems big. We'll have to experiment with it, especially once we start playing with items that we know don't have air stall. And that might even move them on the tier list. A lot of items I actually dunk down in the rankings specifically because it doesn't have air stall. So that's a tier list buff. Okay, I'm feeling it. Conjunctivious nerf, exactly. That's like what, like, I use giant as an example, but conjunct is probably a better example. Cap fatal falls damages to 15% of your max life. This one, I'm not entirely sure is necessary. There's only so many maps where you fall off the map. And I think 30% was probably enough. I guess the way how they're thinking of it is that you could fall off a map multiple times on ramparts or fractured shrine or spoiler map astrolab, but I think that 30%, I don't think it was that much. I mean, yeah, it's a third of your health. If you fall 2 more times, you lost 2/3 of your health. But 15% is a really low number, I think. That's 1 croissant. And yeah, I get it. People are dying from it. Maybe what they should do is that falling from a ledge has death prevention to it. So if you go under 25%, then you get left with 1 HP. And I think that's probably fine. Added bonus scrolls in Fractured Shrines and Undying Shores, 4 BC and 3 BC. I remember some people coming into chat pretty much when the DLC first launched, saying that there was an issue with the new areas, that they don't drop enough scrolls. I'm sure that's the case. I never not believe Twitch chat. But if that was the case and they needed to add scrolls, then so be it. I'm actually happy to see that. I don't mind going to the maps. I just know that people tell me when I get to the second boss, my stats are low. So, sure. Buff it. Thank you, game. Turn 1 double scroll into a triple scroll and Fractured. So again, same scenario here. Improved soul shot. That's offhand for Fairman's Lantern. Aim to target multiple monsters if possible. So this is kind of sick. And I'm really surprised if this actually works. In all honesty, I almost feel like it was better that it doesn't try to target more, because then it's like a not as strong as it possibly could be. But improving the soul shot without nerfing the soul shot in some degree is like huge. I will take anything for the soul shot because I love it that much. Really what this is like if you're going to a map with a lot of bats on it, so say Graveyard, toxic sewers, that kind of stuff, you can probably hold for 2 bullets and actually kill 2 bats. Where typically I was like single shooting bats and kiting backwards. And I thought that was fine, but you know what? Shoot, I'll take it. Another community suggestion, you can now find 1 outfit and 1 other item as a blueprint. When I first got into Fractured Shrine, I got baited by one of the... No, it wasn't Fractured. It was Undying Shores. I used a Hunter's Grenade on a Necromancer, and I got a skin out of it. And it took me multiple times to get to the Necromancer. So if that's gonna fix that, I know I already got my blueprint, so I'm not even like gonna qualify for this. But for the Susies out there who haven't bought the DLC yet, for the mobile players, when they get an update, maybe this is gonna be included, and they'll be like so much happier that we had to die so they could live in the DLC. Mods can no longer spawn or turn into elites due to melees in the first few seconds for an elite mob to aggro you. This one, so it's another nerf to the melees. And again, like, I know I have a lot of hours in this game, so I shouldn't be the one saying that this was like a non-issue. It's really the people who are just like Susie. They are in what's now 5 BC for the first like few attempts, and they're just now learning melees. That's where like you can really tell what is unfun and actually fun. And maybe I don't know what that is because I'm a little too far out there compared to the typical player that is gonna have an issue when stuff keeps respawning and they can't kill this elite hammer or elite mummy because there's more stuff spawning. Shovel, Flashing Fans, and War Spear now work with Porcupine. I'm gonna assume they mean that these now knock away projectiles? And if that's the case, that's like kinda good. Now, the idea is that you could just use Armadillo Pack, and Armadillo does the same thing. The only difference is that Armadillo also parries everything else. So these knocking... Well, this knocks away bombs. This knocks away both bombs and bullets. It does damage back on the enemy, and it does actual damage because you're playing Brutality, and this will do that right damage. But that's only assuming this actually works that way. And then War Spear working in the backpack. If you imagine rolling through multiple monsters and getting a big crit, something like rats, mushroom boys, all of that stuff, yeah, that's probably kind of cool. I still think Porcupine needs a cooldown reduced. Right now, you only get the roll like every 3 seconds, and I think that's a little much for Porcupine. Keep it going. Level design. Fixed missing scrolls. So that's the bug that people are talking about. Made fatal fall zones in Fractured Shrines more tolerant to prevent unfair damage. So I'm going to assume that based on how the levels are designed, there might be some instances where you are like forced, not really forced to fall, but you probably jump off, not assuming that you actually take fall damage there. So I'm going to hope that that's what they fixed. Otherwise, I have no idea what this is. Graphics and UI. The description and the fixed list of items now scroll together in the pause menu for better readability. That's pretty nice. I mean, anything to make things easier to read without having to do like right analog stick multiple times, I'll take it. Reordered Fatal Falls achievement, so it's in logical order, that's fine. Increase the size of the flask zone to account for all items. So I guess the flask was too small? I'm gonna have to like look at this. Okay, so there's the flask zone. Is that all that different? I don't know. Maybe I'm not looking at the right thing. Maybe it's only a couple pixels, maybe. But let's keep it going. Cocoon now displays a parry when a successful parry occurs. That's fine. I could always listen for it, so I never really needed the text, but just call that accessibility. Like, we're really loving accessibility in games. Improves the Cold-Blooded Guardian. That's the snake in the new areas. So that's helpful. Fix the color of the crows on the stats panel. I actually never checked to see the crows on the stats. A malaise rules modification now denoted by icons when the malaise increases. So malaise was like, it's a yellow bar and it has different notches on it. And supposedly those different notches do different things throughout the course of the game, but I never remember what it is. So if they found a way to show you exactly what's happening at each time, you know, that's awesome. Improve Serenade's visual effects for better readability, sure. Improve the Javelin and Snake Fang's teleport visual effects. So maybe like the color of it, so you know exactly where you teleport it to. Added small visualization of the item in your backpack. That was an issue. You could never see what was in your backpack without dropping it to the floor. Added a small mention of the possibility to use custom mode to lock bad items in the collector UI to encourage players to unlock everything, even items you might end up not liking. So I guess there's gonna be something that's gonna tell you to try custom mode and turn items off. Backpack mutations now show their internal cooldown. That's great. Remove the confusing hold to empty your backpack prompt. I actually never get this, so must be a bug. Fix some typos. Fix acceptance text not mentioning food curses you. I actually didn't even know it didn't show it. I take it and I eat food anyway, not knowing it's gonna curse me. Even though, like, I should know that by now, I still eat food instantly by mistake. A fix acrobatic pack not mentioning that melee weapons don't work. We have to answer that question every now and then. So if they want to add that to the text, then awesome. All right, quality of life. Cursed gems now require a long press to be picked up. So I only have one time I ever instantly picked up a cursed gem, and I learned my lesson from that. But if they want to actually, like, make something so it doesn't happen to everybody else, that's fine. But some people may call BS deaths. We want to reduce the BS, the bullcrap. Add the option to hold to chain attacks. Now this is basically like Quick Bow. Quick Bow, Magic Missile, Fire Blast, Lightning Bolt. All of those you can hold the button down and actually fire out the attack. The only thing is that Lightning Bolt and Fire Blast don't work with Acrobatic Pack. So I actually don't know if this is gonna break Acrobatic Pack if you do that. And then there's some items where I'm not sure if holding the attack is a good idea. So stuff like R&B. Stuff like Broadsword. So I would be worried about holding the button and not being able to cancel the attack. I know there's some items in the game where canceling attacks is like really difficult. So I really like this idea. I hope that everyone who likes it uses it and then reports any weapons that feel actually worse when you do that. Next, Hunter's Grenade now respawns when you throw it off the world. That's great. Move random outfit from classic to custom mode. I don't like that, but they buffed it. They nerfed it and buffed it. They nerfed it out of normal, and they buffed it in custom where your skin can change in every map. And that's like actually hilarious to me, but I don't want to play custom mode just to have a random skin. I want to play norms. And then finally, we have a lot of bug fixes. I'm probably not going to read through all of them because some of them are just prevented the crash, so we'll just look for the important stuff. Apparently, Giant Whistle used to freeze the Scarecrow. I kind of wish I had that. Yo, that sounds awesome. Fix Serenade eating your main weapon? I actually kind of like the idea of Serenade just randomly destroying your weapon. Maybe if Serenade was a little stronger, then like they could make that a case. So like, yes, this item's really good, but every once in a while it eats your main hand. That would have been kind of fun. But instead they fixed it, so that's fine. Fix Serenade resetting cooldowns? That's the god mode. They got rid of it. Or did they? That might be worth testing, because maybe it's not as fixed as... I mean, it's a small indie company. Maybe we'll still find a way to enable god mode that they haven't figured out yet. And by we, I mean you all. You'll figure it out, and then you'll tell me, hey V, go do this, and your cluster grenade can be spammed. Fix Hunter's Grenade locking the door when used on the Stone Warden. That means the Stone Warden can now become an elite. I feel like the Stone Warden should always be an elite, because that thing is like such an impressive looking monster. I almost want it to be a little harder, but then again, like Fractured Shrines is really far out there in your run, so dying to this thing could be kind of scary. Altars no longer spawn on unstable platforms. I have seen that before. Sometimes they drop into spite pits because they were on a platform like that. Fix Cocoon cooldown not resetting when you parry a grenade. I actually died to this on, I think it was Slimy's viewer build. I died to this specific thing. Fix Soul Shot not triggering Acrobatic Pack. Wow, that's another Soul Shot buff. Fix Cocoon not damaging thrown jerk shrooms. This, like whenever I get Cocoon, I almost instantly go to Arboretum, specifically because you can parry a Mushroom Boy that's thrown at you. And it never killed them, it just like cancels the throw. If it kills them now, that's actually huge. And then Fix Porcupack only working on the first enemy. This is actually a buff. I guess it was a bug where when you do a dodge roll, only the first enemy gets hit, even though you roll through multiple. So if they were able to make it so that all the enemies are hit, that's actually really good for Porcupack. So yeah, that's the patch notes. Took us an hour to go through that. A lot of text. Damage. Love text. Text, honestly, one of my favorite things. And now that we've done that, let's see some of this stuff in action. All right. So let us use the brand new item, Hoche du Gardien. Hoche du Gardien does some kind of combo that inflicts a crit. Ooh.
No.
Oh, I think I get it.
We're dead.
I think I get it. I think it's a 3-hit combo. So 2, 3, and then after that, every swing is a crit. So that's interesting. What I don't know, we gotta parry something. Like, obviously this is really slow, and you don't want to actually walk through the map that way. It could be something like you prep. Oh, I think I had it and I canceled it. So, like, I think I get it. You can also parry. So definitely make sure you have a shield with this. And I think the idea is that you like alternate on one enemy. Okay, I messed it up. I was supposed to swing. We gotta learn the timing of this. I didn't parry that. Are we gonna just die? Now, because this is a survival weapon, you can probably get victims slow nearby targets. And like that's been the requirement for a long time now. That you have to have victims slow. Alright, so I definitely agree. I think it needs some kind of slow. Oh my god. Hang on. That's transforming. So you can do that. And that gives me the crit. So that works. But see how I lost it? Ooh. I don't know if you can always parry out of that. But definitely some slow added to that, probably a lot better. Is this the slowest weapon in the game? It could be. Let's move on to the next one. We got the big old club. Charge it. Wait, that is massive. Y'all see this? And the character. Oh. They got some new technology. It breaks if you hit a monster at full charge. What? See, I couldn't parry out of that. I mean, that was pretty big. I can't charge anymore. Oh, it comes back over time. Okay. Ooh. So that's a super interesting weapon. In all honesty, the amount of time that you are like left without it is not very long. It is a little slow, as you can see, but it's fast enough to be able to fight like this stuff. Oh, here's a good test right here. Can it one tap? No. Well, this is fine. Crap. He blocked it. Not allowed to do that. Do I do bonus to frozen? Okay. So apparently I'm doing bonus to frozen target, and that does change things just a little bit. Still slaps. I actually think I like that a little better than the axe, but I think that's only because we haven't learned how to do the axe yet. Okay, so here it is. It's also in French. I like that down attack. Wait, that's so clean. The animations they added this patch were actually massive. Okay. Okay, let's check out the damage. All right. It stays. You can break it. Huh. Ooh, what about this? Hang on. Hold up. Oh, no. Okay. Hang on. Devs, if you're out there, this has to be a thing. I need to be able to throw that tombstone all the way to the floor. Like, I don't know if that's possible. I know you all, small indie company, I get it. But if I could throw that tombstone all the way to the floor, no matter how high in the air I was, like get the geometry in there, That could be actually hilarious. That is a different tombstone. I think that is different. But I don't get to see... Okay, here's an elite. Alright, got the bonk. Crap. I'm trying to land the rocks, but I just can't do it. Everything's dying before the rocks hit it. Think I've seen enough. So what do you all think? Just rate them like one over the other. So like tombstone versus this axe versus club. And in that order, you could just say tombstone, club, axe, axe, tombstone, club. Just let me know what you all think, like in the order of best to least. I'm gonna load up the next test, which I want to see Sonic Carbine with the new bullet dot. 66 DPS per arrow stuff. The arrows, the Sonic Carbine has 600 DPS. I need 10 arrows to do the same damage that Carbine does normally. Look at that. This is Sonic Carbine in action. A lot of people, myself included, like when you look at Carbine, it looks like a laser beam. It doesn't even look like it should have arrows. I think it's gonna be giga bad. Just stand here. So first off, yes, there's Pierce, as you can clearly see. But look at the ammo count. Out of ammo. Look how much health it has. I did actually 0 damage to this boss in a full clip. And I have no ammo left. That's the banana clip. So you imagine if that's like 30 bullets, it would have to do a really good dot. Maybe the strongest dot in the game. That's a big buff to Sonic Carbine if that could be like the strongest barb tip ever. What if we still like don't kill Concierge? So I have 40 ammo on Carbine, doing an additional 35% if I'm far. At least that's what I hope. And each bullet is doing 200 damage per second. We want to see only Carbine on bosses. Is this enough to move the needle? $833. You back up. 833. Yeah, it is affected by Tranquility. I didn't even use the full clip. Okay, so there's the full clip. Look at the chunks. You all see that? Now, of course, this is like the maximum you could probably do because you're running ammo. And maybe ideally you don't want to run ammo. But the idea that you do that, you have Acrobatic Pack with a Hokuto. So I think that could actually kill bosses. I think that is actually a Carbine buff. Wow, look at that. What else we got? Oh, the Execute. Yeah. All right, so no mercy. Executes mobs under 6% health. So let's see. We're gonna do that. Executed. Executed. I did not touch that monster. Huh. Okay, so let's see. I don't know a good way to do this. I mean, even the fact that the poison is executing them by itself, I think that's pretty wild. I mean, we should be able to see Concierge at 6%. Like, that should be noticeable, I would imagine. Yo, thank you for the damage, by the way. All the follows from everybody. Appreciate you. I have, like, every dot on the planet right now. Almost there. My apologies to anyone who may have fallen asleep by now. Executed. It works. That was 6%, I think. 9% actually. Okay. That could prevent conjunctivius from doing Toho. Like, if you struggle to fight conjunct and you only have a little bit of time left before, like, the massive bullet hell happens, that could be an execute. Assuming that doesn't get nerfed. That was actually pretty fun. I think it's cool, though. Like, that was actually super interesting.